Today, you will delve into the abyss of what it truly means to possess a monster mentality. It's not just a simple shift in perspective, but a profound transformation of your being. It is an awakening to a power that few dare to imagine, a power that resides deep within the human mind. Those who possess it do not follow the rules. They create them. This mentality does not belong to the weak, the conformists, or those who are satisfied with what is given to them. It is the mind of those who challenge conventions, who see beyond appearances and perceive the true forces that drive the world. They are the ones who understand that destiny is not something to be waited for, but something to be conquered, forged with blood, sweat, and unbreakable will. Mental monsters are not trapped by illusions or empty emotions. They are relentless in their pursuit of power because they know it is not given. It is a scarce commodity that must be seized mercilessly. In their minds, weakness has no place, neither doubt nor fear. Their only law is action, and their only goal is control. Power is not for the hesitant. It is for those who venture into the dark, who accept the brutality of reality as it is, not as they wish it to be. Mental monsters play the game without fear, without scruples, without stopping for anything. They do not fear the fall because they know that within the fall itself lies an opportunity to rise. And you, are you ready to seize that power? Subscribe to this channel if you like what you see, comment, share, and give this video a like. Segment 1. Definition of mental monster. A mental monster is not an ordinary person. It is the personification of a mind forged in the shadows, a being that has learned to sculpt its thoughts with the same rigor that a blacksmith forges steel. Its mind is not a soft entity, susceptible to manipulation, but a battlefield where control is absolute and emotions are mere ghosts that wander without power. While others are swept away by the waves of uncertainty, it remains anchored, observing, not letting itself be engulfed by the tide of emotion. This monster knows that true strength lies in the ability to dominate the intangible, to face the storm without succumbing to the inner chaos. What separates a mental monster from the rest of humanity is its ability to resist external manipulations. Common men and women react to the manipulations of their environment, falling into the traps of desire, guilt, and the expectations of others. But the mental monster does not succumb. It recognizes the invisible forces that seek to take control of its will and destroys them with a single thought. It knows that manipulation is a form of slavery, and as such, it does not allow its mind to become a prison. Every manipulation is an attempt to subjugate it, and each attempt is a challenge that its mind, armored by the wisdom of dark psychology, knows how to evade. The mental monster is relentless. It faces challenges like a warrior on the battlefield, but its true weapon is not physical strength, but its mind, which has become an impregnable fortress. Where others falter, it stands firm, fueled by the cold clarity of reason and cunning. It does not care for the current of imposed morality, because it understands that the world does not function under principles of goodness and justice, but under the logic of power. A mental monster is not a prisoner of its own values, but the architect of its own principles. In its world, what matters is not the ethics of others, but the control it can exert over its own reality. The mind of this being is not something that can be easily molded. It is not a blank canvas nor soft clay, but a block of iron, forged in the fires of suffering, solitude, and deep introspection. Its strength does not come from the absence of weakness, but from its acceptance of it. A mental monster does not fear the shadows that dwell within it. It understands them, dominates them, and uses them to its advantage. There is no room for regret or doubt. Every thought is an act of control, every decision a strategic move. The mental monster does not follow the storm. It becomes the wind that moves it. What defines it is not the absence of emotions, but its ability to face them and, in many cases, use them as tools in its quest for power. A mental monster knows that the human mind is plagued by illusions, distractions that take us away from the harshest truths. But it is not a victim of those illusions. It sees them for what they are, tools of manipulation, mirages designed to divert attention and weaken the will. That is why it remains firm in its vision of reality. A vision that is only accessible to those willing to delve into the darkest depths of the human psyche. Segment 2. Critique of illusion. Most people find themselves trapped in an invisible net, an illusion woven with threads of vain hope. They live under the false belief that goodness and naivety are enough to succeed, convinced that the world will reward their sincerity and good intentions. But that vision, so deeply rooted in the collective psyche, is a deadly fallacy. This illusion, like a dense fog, prevents them from seeing reality as it is. It makes them believe that life is a fair playing field, where merit is rewarded and morality remains intact. But the world does not work that way. Power and success are not given to the innocent. They are seized, conquered through cunning, manipulation, and, above all, the relentless control of one's own mind. Those who live trapped in this illusion are the most vulnerable, the ones who fall into the trap of blind benevolence, not realizing that in this ruthless game, being good is not enough. Goodness, like a weak shield, disintegrates in the face of the harshness of real life. Naivety is an open door to exploitation, and those who display it as a virtue become easy prey. Life has no room for the weak, for those who are carried away by the currents of others' desires, for those who trust that good deeds will be rewarded without considering the raw and ruthless nature of power. These innocents, trapped in their bubble of optimism, will soon discover that true strength lies in the ability to manipulate reality, not adapt to it. The mental monster knows that this world offers no favors. It understands the value of shadows and uses them to its advantage. Dark psychology teaches that those who believe life owes them something, that their goodness will be their salvation, are doomed to fail. It is in the darkness where true power germinates, far from the illusions that others embrace. Manipulation, control, and a cunning mind. These are the true instruments that allow one to rise to the top. The mental monster does not allow itself to be deceived by appearances, does not succumb to the temptation of morality imposed by society. It recognizes the unwritten rules of the game and plays to win, not to be accepted or rewarded. Those who fall into these illusions never understand that goodness by itself is just a facade. Deep down, what really matters is the power that can be accumulated, the respect that can be earned through manipulation and strategy. Mental monsters do not see life as a series of altruistic acts. They see it as a chessboard where every move is calculated, where every word and every glance can be a tool to get what they want. The weak, those who cling to their illusions, cannot compete at this level. They are doomed to live in the shadow while the more cunning and awake take the reins of destiny. The mental monster watches those who still live under the influence of this illusion and, although it may feel some pity for them, it also knows that their path will be different. It has left behind those limiting beliefs. It has understood that to succeed in a world where only the strong survive, one must learn to manipulate the truth, shape it to one's advantage, and never, ever, let the desire to be seen as good distract it from the true objective, absolute power. Segment 3. Mastery of the mind. The mind is the most complex battlefield, where the quietest struggles are fought, the ones that determine the course of our existence. It is here that power is born, where every thought, every impulse, every emotion can be an unstoppable force or a devastating weakness. Machiavelli understood this with unsettling clarity. He who does not have control over his mind is doomed to be ruled by his thoughts, by the invisible forces that cloud his judgment and drag him into chaos. A mental monster, aware of this truth, knows that the war for power begins within him, and that only by mastering his mind can he shape his destiny. This mastery is not natural. It is not a trait that is inherited, nor a gift received without effort. It is a skill that is cultivated in the depths of the psyche, through the confrontation with inner shadows, with the fears and insecurities that dwell in every corner of the human mind. The mental monster does not let himself be swept away by the current of his emotions. He observes them, understands them, uses them. He knows that emotions are double-edged swords. They can be his greatest ally or his undoing. A strike of rage, a pang of sadness, a sigh of despair, all these are fragments of his power, which only the mental monster knows how to channel toward his own ends. True control lies in the ability to observe the mind without being absorbed by it. The mind is a turbulent ocean where the waves of anger, fear, and desire crash constantly. Most drown in them, letting the current pull them away, unable to take the reins of their destiny. The mental monster, on the other hand, becomes the navigator of that ocean, a cunning captain who knows the winds, the tides, and the internal storms. He knows that the key to power is not avoiding emotions, but learning to dominate them, transforming them into instruments of control. The mind, when uncontrolled, is a destructive force. People commonly live immersed in their internal disorder, allowing impulsive and irrational thoughts to dictate their actions. A mental monster does not allow himself to be governed by the ups and downs of the human psyche. He is the one who commands his own life, not the whims of his mind. His mind is his army, and he is the relentless general who commands every movement, every decision, with the precision of a strategist. Nothing escapes his control. Every thought is an action aimed at a clear purpose: power, influence, and dominance. This mastery of the mind is not an act of renouncing emotions, but a transfiguration of them. The mental monster has understood that the human mind is a fertile field, but only when it is controlled and cultivated with discipline. Emotions do not dominate him. They are not his chains, but his energy. He uses them as fuel, transforms them, turns them into tools that drive him toward his goal. For the mental monster, mastering the mind is not just a strategy. It is the only way to survive in a world where the weak are swept away by the current of their own emotions. Segment 4. Brutal clarity. A mental monster is not afraid of the truth, no matter how dark and cruel it may be. In a world where most prefer to hide behind comfortable lies and half-truths, he faces reality with a cold, ruthless gaze. He knows that illusion is the refuge of the weak, those who protect themselves from the harsh reality with the false hope that the world is a just and kind place. But the mental monster has abandoned those childish dreams. His strength lies in his ability to look at what others fear to see, to accept what is, without embellishments or justifications. The truth, although painful, is his only ally in this ruthless game for power. This confrontation with reality is not an act of desperation, but of liberation. Brutal clarity is not obtained by seeking comfort, but by going through the shadows of what one wishes to ignore. The mental monster has learned that only when he faces the truth, no matter how terrifying it is, can he make decisions free from the chains of lies. Those decisions, free from illusions, are the ones that will lead him to absolute control. Accepting reality as it is, without filters, allows him to see the bigger picture. He is not deceived by mirages, not lost in the distortions of others' perceptions. The mental monster sees what others do not see, understands what others do not comprehend. By embracing the truth, the mental monster becomes a being capable of acting with unrelenting objectivity. There is no room for overflowing emotions, for fear or compassion. Every decision he makes is a calculation, an action that moves him toward his goal without hesitation. He is not guided by what should be, but by what truly is. This brutal clarity gives him the power to move with precision in a world full of chaos and distraction. While others hesitate, torn between what is right and what is convenient, he moves forward without wavering. He knows that only by confronting the harsh truth can he make choices that bring him closer to the total domination of his life and others. The mental monster has understood that suffering is an intrinsic part of human existence. Instead of avoiding it, he embraces it as a tool that he can use to his advantage. The truth does not weaken him. It strengthens him. He knows that at the moment one faces pain and the harshness of reality, one is freed from the shackles that keep them captive. Denial, evasion are the true enemies of those who seek power. While most get lost in the fog of fantasy, the mental monster cuts through that fog with the sword of truth, moving with a clarity that sets him apart from others. This type of clarity is not for everyone. It is for those willing to see beyond the facade, to destroy the masks that society has imposed upon them. The truth, in its purest and rawest form, is dangerous because it strips a person of their illusions and confronts them with their true essence. For the mental monster, that truth is the gateway to power. Only when one is able to see reality as it is, without embellishments or explanations, can they have the power to act definitively. And in that act of seeing without fear, of facing the unacceptable, lies absolute control. Segment 5. Unmasking relationships and projects. The mental monster does not live in a world of fantasies or false connections. His vision, sharp as a dagger, is capable of cutting through the masks that everyone wears to hide their true interests. For him, relationships are not a means for social approval or superficial satisfaction. They are tools, cold and calculated instruments that must bring tangible value if they are to remain in his life. Any relationship that does not contribute to his rise, any project that does not serve his purpose of power and control, is discarded without hesitation. There is no room for weakness or distractions, because every moment and every decision must serve his own greatness. In the world of the mental monster, the truth behind the masks is quickly revealed. The people around him, the projects presented to him, everything is subjected to the most ruthless scrutiny. He is not deceived by the facade of smiles or empty promises. He knows that the intentions of most people are as fragile as castles of sand. Relationships, business, projects, everything that does not provide him with a clear, immediate, and substantial advantage is immediately exposed and discarded. The mental monster understands that time and energy are limited resources. He cannot afford to invest them in anything that does not bring him closer to his goal: absolute power. This process of unmasking is, in itself, an art. It is a skill that few develop because it requires a mind that is willing to see what others refuse to see. Every gesture, every word, every action of others is analyzed and evaluated for its potential to increase the monster's influence and respect. There is no room for empty morality or relationships based on superficial manipulation. Only those connections that allow him to gain power, dominate the playing field, and maintain control of his surroundings survive in his world. Everything else is discarded without regret, like a dead weight that must be released. The ability to discern between what is useful and what is unnecessary is what defines the mental monster. While others continue to invest time in relationships that do not serve their interests, the mental monster acts with precision, eliminating those who offer no value. This ability is not born of gratuitous cruelty, but of a deep understanding that in this world, only the strong survive. Relationships are a battlefield where every move must be aligned with the expansion of power and influence. The mental monster does not seek sympathy or company, but cultivates alliances that benefit him, that elevate him above others. Every interaction becomes a calculated act, every word an investment in his personal empire. In the end, everything that does not contribute to his purpose is expendable. He is not deceived, nor does he get carried away by the illusion of blind loyalty or empty promises. Projects, like people, are rigorously evaluated. Only those that bring real value are accepted into his circle. Distractions are eliminated as easily as a general discards a failed strategy on the battlefield. The mental monster has no time for the superfluous. Every decision, every relationship, every step he takes is part of a meticulous plan to dominate his environment. And in this domination, only those who offer tangible value remain. The rest simply disappear. Segment 6. The Shadow of Control. To create a dark monster mentality, one must first understand that shadows are not an enemy, but a powerful tool waiting to be used. The world is full of invisible forces that, like specters, slip between people, influencing their thoughts, decisions, and behaviors without them realizing it. Unspoken desires, repressed emotions, hidden fears, these are the elements a mental monster must learn to master. These are the invisible threads that control the minds of others. And by becoming a master of these shadows, the monster can manipulate reality to his advantage. Without his objectives or presence being detected, brute force has no place in this game. Direct power strikes are for the clumsy, for those who still believe control is achieved through open confrontation. The mental monster knows that true domination comes from the shadows, from subtlety, from invisibility. The key to having power is not imposing, but knowing the deepest fears and desires of others, what lies hidden in the dark corners of their psyche. By understanding subconscious motivations, the monster can move like a shadow through others' minds, manipulating thoughts, directing emotions, and altering perceptions without raising suspicion. This invisible control allows him to navigate a world that seems chaotic and erratic, but that, in his hands, is a perfectly ordered and moldable playing field. Each conversation becomes a mine of information for the mental monster. In every word, in every glance, in every small gesture from others, there is an untold story. The monster listens to what is said, but also listens to what is unsaid, observes what is done, but also what is left undone. Every interaction is an opportunity to collect pieces of a puzzle that will allow him to perfectly understand how others think, what they fear, what they desire, what motivates them. By doing this, he not only observes, but also prepares to act, to manipulate, to put into practice the knowledge he has acquired. The emotions of others become a detailed map, and the unfulfilled desires of those around him, the routes that lead him to power. But it is not about influencing just for the sake of it. For a mental monster, manipulation is not a superficial act. It is a game of minds, an art that goes beyond mere persuasion. Manipulating is understanding, comprehending others' vulnerabilities and exploiting them. It is the ability to read between the lines, to see beyond the obvious, to touch the right emotional strings to move others like chess pieces. A monster does not manipulate for the desire of immediate control, but for the ability to see the big picture, to use others' minds as extensions of his own power. With every action he takes, with every word he whispers, he ensures that the final result always favors his agenda, no matter how far from the truth the path may be. What makes a mental monster an unstoppable force is not just his knowledge, but his ability to move in silence, leaving no trace. While others struggle to control the obvious, the monster watches the shadows that creep at the periphery. It is there that true power lies. No one knows they are being manipulated, that their decisions are being guided by an invisible hand. No one suspects that beneath the surface there is a monster who watches, who understands, and who moves the pieces of the game without others even noticing they are playing his game. True mastery in this game is not invisibility, but in the total invisibility of control, in the ability to move others without them ever understanding that they are the ones being directed. Segment 7. The Psyche as a Weapon. The mind is the battlefield where the true war for power is fought. For the mental monster, understanding dark psychology is essential, because the human mind is the fertile ground where the seeds of control are sown. Those who are unaware of the power that lies deep within the psyche are vulnerable. Dark psychology is not a recognized science nor visible knowledge, but an ancient practice that moves in the shadows, an art that is perfected by observing, understanding, and manipulating the most intimate parts of the human mind. The mental monster knows that this is his greatest power, to control without using force, to dominate without showing his hand. In a world full of uncertainties, the monster becomes the master of others' emotions, desires, and fears, moving others like puppets without them ever suspecting they are being controlled. The mental monster does not act impulsively, nor is he driven by the desire to dominate without thinking. Every word, every gesture, every glance is perfectly calculated. There are no coincidences in his interactions. Every move is a strategic play, one step further in creating a mental labyrinth that traps his victims without them noticing. A monster knows when to feed someone's ego, how to make them feel more powerful, more important, so that he can later manipulate that vanity to his advantage. He knows when to sow doubt in their thoughts, how to create a crack in their confidence so that, without realizing it, they become slaves to their insecurities. Every human being is a puzzle of emotions and unfulfilled desires, and the mental monster is the expert who knows how to fit each piece to make the other person's mind work for him. Manipulation is not simply influencing. It is an imperative necessity for the monster. Manipulation is an extension of his power, and this power is achieved only when one understands the deepest motivations, those that are hidden in the darkest corners of the human psyche. The mental monster understands that we all have internal shadows, fears, repressed desires, unresolved traumas. And it is these shadows that he knows and exploits with mastery. He does not need physical threats or direct imposition. Instead, he plays with emotions, entangles thoughts, and pulls the invisible strings that govern the human mind. Manipulation is the tool he uses to ensure that every decision, every action, serves his purpose. The human mind is fragile, easily molded if approached correctly, and the monster is the craftsman who sculpts it in his own image and likeness. The true power of dark psychology lies in the creation of a false reality, but one accepted as true by those who are manipulated. The mental monster does not just play with emotions. He becomes the architect of the reality others perceive. He makes others believe they are making decisions on their own, when in reality, the decisions have already been dictated in his mind. Every step someone believes they are taking of their own free will has been carefully directed by the monster, who has woven such a fine web that his victim doesn't even know they are trapped. The monster becomes the shadow cast upon the thoughts of others, guiding their actions and thoughts like an invisible puppeteer. This mastery over the psyche is not just a strategy for power, it is the way the mental monster establishes total control over his environment. The human mind, though vast and complex, is susceptible to manipulation if one understands how it works. The mental monster has the ability to make his victims walk directly into the fate he has prepared for them, while they believe they are exercising their free will. Dark psychology is the sword with which he cuts the bonds of others. allowing them to walk aimlessly, while he remains hidden in the shadows, observing and directing the course of their lives without them noticing. Segment 8. The Game of Lies. The mental monster knows that a lie is not just a distortion of the truth, but a fine tool, one that can be shaped with the same precision with which a sculptor shapes stone. A lie is the ultimate tool for those who understand that reality is malleable, that there is no single truth, but an infinity of perceptions that can be altered at will. In the hands of a monster, a lie is not a whim nor a simple deception. It is the foundation upon which he builds his empire. He does not seek to deceive for fun, but out of necessity, to create a narrative that favors his objective. The truth is a relative concept. What matters is how that truth is perceived, and the mental monster knows that by controlling perception, he controls the course of events. Lies are not simple falsehoods. They are alternative realities, carefully designed to divert attention, to change the course of history without anyone noticing. The monster knows that people do not seek the truth, but prefer to believe what is most comfortable for them, what satisfies their desires or their deepest fears. And in this vulnerability, the monster infiltrates. He creates a vision of the world that others accept without questioning, no matter how distorted reality may be, as long as it is credible and convenient for those who hear it. For him, the truth is just a malleable concept, another piece on the chessboard of manipulation, in which he moves the pieces at his will. Using lies strategically is an art, and the mental monster handles it with mastery. A lie becomes a currency in his power game. Through it, he can change the course of events, alter the perception of what is happening, and create a reality that favors his own interests. The monster knows that the truth is just an obstacle if used thoughtlessly, but if manipulated properly, it can turn a lie into the key to his dominance. Each lie he weaves is not just an isolated falsehood, but part of a subtle, intricate web that envelops others without them realizing it. The threads of the lie are intertwined so skillfully that even the most astute do not manage to see the full scheme. The magic of the lie, for a mental monster, lies in its power to reconfigure reality. Every well-told lie has the ability to alter the way others see the world, to shape their decisions, to guide their actions without them knowing they are being directed. Through his lies, the monster can create situations in his favor, manipulate public opinion, or even generate crises that, ultimately, will work to his benefit. It is not that the lie is more important than the truth. It is that for the mental monster, the lie is the truth he chooses for others to see, and that is the only truth that matters in his world of absolute control. This mastery over lies gives the monster a decisive advantage over others. While everyone else follows the linear path of truth, he moves in the world of shadows, creating new narratives, new realities, with an ease that baffles anyone who tries to challenge him. The lies the monster creates are not superficial or ephemeral. They are deep constructions that alter the psyche of those who accept them, leading them to make decisions they never would have made had they known the truth. The lie in the hands of the monster becomes the most powerful tool for control, because it is a tool that never wears out, never loses its effectiveness, and always serves his purpose, to keep the power in his hands. Here are 2 other videos that will give you a high rank in psychological power. Go check them out.